Hello everyone, this is Matthew Gaines. It's July 7th, 2017. I'm driving on I-95 right now, and I am being responsible. Don't worry, I'm watching the road. I just want to video and record my life from time to time randomly and be as authentic as I can in the moment. This is not scripted, this is not a performance, this is not a memorization to try and provide a spiel of any kind. I just want to be me. This is really a recording of my life, who I am, so my children can get a little bit better of an idea of who I am possibly one day, so that the world in one way or another can benefit from possibly this expression and what I consider to be a contribution. When I drive, I often receive a lot of clarity and good insight on things, and it's good for me to share this. I do ceremony frequently as an apprentice to an authentic, qualified medicine man who has a lineage of medicine people, both on his mother's side and his father's side, dating back thousands of years. And I go to the Sundance every year in El Paso with a community out there that I've been involved in for 7 years, been Sundancing for 7 years now. And I'm not saying this to have accreditation or to build an image or anything like that. In fact, all too often I steer away from mentioning anything of the sort that I'm a Sundancer, because I don't want to come off as if I'm using that as an image to hide behind. A Sundancer does not exploit the Sundance for personal gain or ego purposes of creating an image or an identification. To me, a Sundancer is someone who lives as a Sundancer lives, walking the path of the red road, not just talking it. And yes, I'm a white boy, I'm a Caucasian, I am a non-native. But the way that these ways have come into my life were basically from a pure prayer. I had no idea really about them. I just knew that I needed help and I wanted to heal. And I believed in my heart that there was a way to do it. I just didn't know what that was. And I left myself open for God to be able to show that to me, what that was. As a result of that prayer, people started showing up in my life, conversations happened, and as a result, I started becoming more involved in medicine meetings, traditional medicine meetings, talking about traditional medicine meetings, not these warped New Age ceremonies where a bunch of New Agers are trying to throw in their little ideas of enhancing the ceremony, thinking that that's actually going to enhance it when it really doesn't. I listen to the wisdom of my elders, and I'm very blessed to have amazing, wise, true, genuine, authentic elders in my life, and medicine men, road men, shamans. And I'm not saying that again as something to build up my image or to hide behind or to prove anything. I'm saying that as a sense of gratitude, appreciation, and acknowledgement of my prayer and how the universe works in regards to prayer, how the Creator really guides and how He's guided me on my path. I don't live a typical traditional life in the sense of society or in the sense of how this world functions. So a lot of things that I do might not make sense to many people based on how they've been conditioned in society, through education, through politics, through their family, through religion, and all these other influencing factors that have a strong impact on one's decisions in life. So I tend to walk to the beat of my own drum, which is my heart, which is what has brought me into these ceremonies, into the traditional. And when I say this, I have this deep feeling of gratitude because of the privilege and the honor that I realize, to the limited degree that I'm able to realize, of how profound my life is because of these things that have come into it. We hold weekly and bi-weekly sweat lodge. We've been doing that the last 7 years here in the community of South Florida. We do medicine ceremonies, and we do that for the reason of spiritual healing, real spiritual awakening, to heal and cleanse the false ideas, beliefs, images, perceptions that have nothing to do with the nature of our soul and our heart as what that is, which is incomprehensible to a thought. Which is why the only real problem is the mind. This is why we do the ceremony, so that we can heal ancestry. Ancestry in the sense of generational conditioning through beliefs, habits, behaviors, things of that nature that have brought more separation and more contamination to basically living in this world with each other in harmony. And the whole point is to be able to heal relations, to heal our consciousness, to heal my consciousness, so that I can see the good, like the true purity in everyone, beyond my judgments. Because if I see someone doing something that I think is wrong, that's for me to look at. That's for me to heal. If I am aware and I can observe without a judgment on that person as being bad or wrong, but I can notice that they're doing something that is possibly maybe not in their best interest, really all that I can do is pray for them and bless them and send them lots of love and have compassion and do my best to relate to them in the goodness that they are. One of the problems that I've noticed is that we grow up in a society of guilt. It's primarily based off guilt, which is this Christian mentality. And there's nothing wrong with Christianity in its essence. But when you think about it, Christ was not a Christian. Christ was a natural man. He listened to his heart based on the relationship that he had with the Creator as one with the Creator, because that is his true nature. That is all of our true nature. That's the beauty of what these ceremonies allow us the capacity to actually tap into and clear away what's in the way of that truth of our oneness with, I'm going to use the word God. You can use anything you want. The mother, the universe, the truth, the reality, the light, the Christ. These are words, but when you can get beyond the words to the actual vibrational, literal experience of that, where you see no wrong in anything. You see everything as innocent. And the point that I'm getting to is how we've been raised is based on this guilt-ridden, sin ideology, Christianity-based philosophy or ideology. We've been taught as little kids, you're a good boy or a bad boy, or a good girl or a good girl, or a bad girl if you do things based on society's ideas of what good, bad, right, wrong is. And so kids either conform into being good and doing the right thing according to society and Christian-based morals and ideology on that level, or kids end up doing the wrong thing and the bad thing because they see that it gets them attention. In the end, all children want one thing, and that's love. All human nature is based off that one thing, which is love. And when we start to warp it with our morals and our ideology and our ethics and so-called even principles, sometimes those get in the way because they become corrupt. All too often we use the morals, ethics, and principles as a tool to promote guilt and to make people wrong when no one's wrong. No one can be wrong. It's impossible. The idea of wrong is an illusion, a made-up idea that we as humans created and then tried to reinforce with an image of God that we projected to try and instill fear and authority over others. And all of that is the illusion. So the beauty of this is why we do ceremony is to get back to the root, to get back to ground zero, to get back into the mother's womb where there is true innocence, so that we can really connect with our true nature, which is beautiful. A beauty which can't be expressed in words. Beauty, the word beauty doesn't even do it justice, but the feeling of beauty is when you really get it. And you start to realize that there is no wrong, there is no bad, and there really is no good, but it's all awesome. And nature is really what we're after. To get back into our true nature, to be able to live in a harmonious, effortless, harmonious nature with one another and all that is. Sounds like a pie-in-the-sky idea because we have gone so far away from our nature, because we have used our minds so incorrectly And we have become so dependent on our limited intellectual capacity, which has cut us off from the truth in our hearts. And that's the illusion again. Then we start becoming more concerned about how much money do I make? How many people do I know that have a certain status that can get me what I think I want, which is what I think I need in order to have what I think is going to make me happy, which are all based off false, meaningless pretenses from a state of lack, from a state of thinking that you don't have already, because you're using your intellectual mind and all the ideas that have been passed down for centuries. I mean, you go back to the days of Rome, and it's been even before that. The idea that we're not good enough and that we need something in order to be good enough is the false premise right there. That's the first act of violence that we have put on ourselves. And because we put it on ourselves, we can't help but project it onto others. And that's the whole problem. That's the reason why we do ceremony. That's the reason for medicine, is to clean all of that up. That's the reason why we hold space in ceremony, so that you can go within and take responsibility for these perceptions, these judgments, these ideas, these beliefs, all these things in your mind that are false, that keep you away from connecting to your heart, which is truth, which is real wisdom, which is real guidance, which when you did and when you do, you will know how to live spontaneously in the moment, perfectly in harmony to every situation presented to you. Because the intelligence of the heart is wisdom. The intelligence of the heart knows how to direct your every thought, word, and action in the moment based on the circumstance and the situation and the person or whatever you're in relationship to in the moment that is going to serve everything in the greatest, in the highest. That's the whole point of medicine. But there's so many layers we need to cut through. And as we cut through those layers, some people will go to a medicine ceremony. I see this all the time. What I see is a couple things. What I see is people who have been going to these other ceremonies that have no traditional foundation. And they're mixing medicines. And then they start to have this orgiatic experience of like interacting with each other, being social, being affectionate, having conversations on the medicine with each other as if the counseling can actually be taken on in that capacity. And no structure, no design, no medicine in regards to vibration as far as music and medicine songs. And they think that they're doing something new as pioneers in the realm of ceremony and medicine ceremony at that. When, if you think about it, this is absurd, because your ancestors, the medicine men and women, who were working with medicine and tradition, the ones who developed tradition to be what it is, went through all of that. For thousands and thousands of years, they did everything under the sun in order to come up with the structure that is in ceremony to be what it is, because they discovered that it works. It works energetically on a level that is unable to be recognized by the physical eyes, by the physical senses. It's being able to be recognized when you're clean enough to where you can connect with the truth of energy and vibration in its reality, not in its apparent image or its form. And these people who are doing these ceremonies that don't have any structure, there's no tradition, there's no real qualified medicine man that's running the ceremony, and there's no basis to it. They're fooling themselves. And when they come to our ceremony and there's structure, there's tradition that has been passed down for thousands of years, they can't even hold their space. They can't even sit still. They've got to walk around all over the place because they're too much in their minds, and they're looking for stimulation outside of them because they can't deal with what they need to internally. And that's where the work needs to be done. That's the whole point of doing these ceremonies. Then there's another thing that happens. Someone might do a ceremony or two, and then they think that there's some grand healer or shaman. And this is another thing that the medicine will play with your illusions. It will allow you to fantasize to the degree that you want to fantasize and continue to live out your ego. It's going to honor your choices. But when you get serious and committed to your healing, and you really don't come at it with a fantasy or an expectation as to what you think that healing is supposed to look like, it'll work with you on that level too. And all too often, it's going to bring about the stuff that we all too often run from because it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's ugly, it's embarrassing. All these things that we keep hidden from our own selves, it's called ignorance, and we keep away from others because we don't want to even recognize that that's a part of us. That's where the real healing happens, and that's the beauty of the medicine, because it allows us to be able to touch into that. It allows us to be able to dredge it up and really hold it and embrace it with a willingness and a surrender for the medicine and for you to let go. To let it go. And the more you let go, the more that who you are and what you actually are is revealed in that nature that I'm talking about. This is the premise of ceremony from what I've discovered so far, and I still have a lot to learn. I am not an authority on the matter. I am just sharing my experience and my observation for the last 8 to 9 years now that I've been working with this regularly, both with the peyote medicine and the ayahuasca medicine, with traditional shamans, traditional medicine men who have been passed down this information, this knowledge, these lessons, this way of conducting ceremony for thousands and thousands of years, where they hold the medicine in a sacred way. And when they hear about these other people doing these ceremonies, these people calling themselves New Age and trying to tweak the ceremonies in their own little way, thinking that that's going to improve it, they laugh. They laugh, not out of judgment, but just out of because there's a humor in that, because these people really think that it's actually going to be doing something better than what has already been around for thousands of years. There's not an evolution to it, people. The evolution has already happened in the discovery of the trial and error, that all the things that they've worked through and discovered for thousands and thousands of years. If you can learn to respect tradition for its real inherent purpose and the reason why it's there and the reason why things are the way they are, without thinking that you can figure it out with your rational intellectual mind, and you start to open up your mind, open up your heart, and be humble and surrender, and let your learning happen on a different capacity that you've been conditioned to, other than your mind, other than your intellect. Let your body learn. Let your body, your bones, your cells, your skin, your blood, and your soul and your heart absorb the information. That's where the real experiential learning happens. When you let yourself feel the vibrations that are there that need to be cleaned and healed, that takes a lot of courage, that takes a lot of bravery. That's a real warrior, because a warrior is someone who holds his space, regardless of how intense the energy might get. Holds his space, holds true to his intention, which is to love himself, heal. Let the Great Spirit do the healing, because the Great Spirit is the only thing that does the healing. The medicine, the shaman, the medicine man, all those instruments, they're instruments that the Great Spirit works through when they're respected in that humble way. This is why I love ceremony. This is why it's my path and will continue to be. It's my calling. I know it in my heart. This is why I've been blessed with all these things that have come into my life. I did not seek them out. I did not shop around for them. I said a simple, pure prayer about wanting to heal. And whatever that took, I left my mind and my heart open to that. And things showed up the way that they did. That's the beauty of it. I never shopped around for medicine. Medicine showed up.